faces. If you write because of the society, have you ever felt that you have cheated on yourself? Or if you write because of yourself, have you ever felt that you have cheated on the society? So,
Yeah. Okay, I think, yeah. Or, yes, you can start, Khadija.
Okay.
Whilst Leia is posing for pictures.
I'm just trying to think of a question and an answer.
Okay, let me answer. So, okay. Actually, that's something I really struggle with. It's a dilemma that I carried with me even before, or even when I started writing the book, that I had to be accountable for my writing, just on an ethical level, purely, even with or without community, you have to be ethical in your writing. I think you can write about dark or problematic topics and still, have a certain, be ethical about it. So leaving aside the issue of community. And then now I'm writing a story about a community that hasn't really seen in the international light of day. People don't really know what Mombasa is like if they're not from Mombasa, or they don't know what these places are like. So even when I'm writing and I'm tackling these not little heard of, people tell these stories, it's just they've not been accessible on a grander level. I always have to ask myself, am I writing the right thing? How much of this am I writing the truth, and where am I sensationalizing things? So it wasn't necessarily difficult for me when I was writing it, but it's something that's definitely always on my mind. I think with this book, I was very clear about my intention to myself, that I had to be sincere. I had to write in a way that lets me fall in love with my home again, without assuming that it is perfect. Because if it was a perfect home, it wouldn't be interesting at all to me. And yeah, that's something I constantly work with, even now, something I struggle with. But now the real struggle is trying to have that dilemma in a healthy way and not having an outside understanding of that dilemma kind of interfering with that. I have to do my best. I have to hold myself accountable, not other people to hold me accountable. As in they should if I slip up and I do something like wrong, but it's not so grand as discourse. It's individual. It's very much, it needs to be in the real. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
And you?
It was such a beautiful question. And I was going to ask him to repeat it so I can write it down and use it in a future book. However, your answer is even more meaningful, and I really love that, and I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing that. And I will use that one day someone asks me a question like that. More immediately, I write for money, right? I have no shame about it. I write for money. But with this specific book, I poured so much of my insight. It was like I turned myself inside out. When authority goes into different dimensions and it goes into these things we call folds and all of that, I experienced that. I experienced myself being turned inside out, and I was exposed. And I wasn't looking at myself in the mirror. I was the mirror. That's so cool. Right? But more seriously, right? And I went to, we've talked about vulnerability on this stage, and I was quite vulnerable. I was exposed, I was vulnerable, I saw myself in ways I had not seen myself anymore. And I think all of that contributed to this being a book that is worthy of sharing the stage with the House of Rust. But the only problem is it has left me needing a lot of therapy. And I'm hoping the book would pay for that. So please, buy these books and, stop the narrative of struggling artists. All you need to do is buy books and we're no longer going to struggle. There's a hand up there.
Hi. Hello. Yeah? Okay, hi. Don't worry, we'll buy the book. Promise. No, I wanted to know about your relationship with non-human creatures, I mean non-humans, right? Because you both have cats in your stories, if I'm not wrong. So I want to know what do they bring? What does the animal kingdom brings to your story or to you? Why did you feel the need to include these creatures who live among us? And I can extend that to the natural world, the environment maybe. It's just I want to know what animals mean for you.
May I go first? All right, I'm going to go first this time because Khadija is going to say something very deep, and I don't want to mess it up with something shallow afterwards. Why do we have animals? Not just animals. I mean, I've got multidimensional beings. I've got, there are creatures in the book that you cannot describe. What if I told you that there's a shape that flies, right? Or a color you've never seen? It's all in the book, not in those words, but these are things I encountered when I was writing the book. So I didn't decide to put a cat in the book or to put aliens in the book or to put other beings that we don't really know what they are. They chose me. And I think it has something to do with the chemicals I surrounded myself with to cleanse my spirit before writing. Now we're going to go for the serious answer.
Your answers are really good, so don't be so hard on yourself.
I'm not being hard on myself. I'm owning my madness, you know?
Right.
It's a lot of vacuous nonsense, but it's fine.
I could listen to you for hours, to be honest.
Thank you very much.
For me, cats have always been part of my life. Animals have always been part of my life in general, whether they're in the sky, on the land, in the sea. And to me, it's fascinating to kind of understand there's a whole world, and it's not apart from you. It's not separate. To make it all fantastic or that, you know, it's so implausible. I need it to be a plausible world because I believe in it as a plausible world. I believe the crows have their own language. I believe that, you know, animals have a way of understanding the world that we do not necessarily know, nor do we need to know. I think that is one of the things that I was interested in, experiencing over what we don't know. We can just try to live honestly with what we do know. And I enjoyed having animals in the book underneath the society that's already exists at Mombasa that we do not have necessarily, yeah.
That is so powerful. Foxes. They know every source of water. They need to survive. So if you want to find water, if you want to find a leakage or anything, just follow the foxes. They'll lead you to water. They know more about the city than we do. I just thought that was, what you said just brought that home for me.
Yeah, true. Actually, when I was in UK, I used to go running with the foxes. I used to go jogging and they would be there. And I feel like trying to find these ordinary things that are happening in our world and sit with them, make them fascinating and interesting to us is fascinating and interesting to me, I guess. But yeah, that's so interesting what you said about the water. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do know where the water is. I mean, if only I could train them to find certain herbs as well that grow freely in the wild, but yeah.
Okay, do you have more questions or comments? Yeah.
Thank you for your lovely question. Sorry.
Hi, everybody, once again. I don't know how I'm always having questions. Yeah, so the way you guys talk, you know, we as human beings, we as human beings, we have this fear of, I mean, you mentioned foxes, you mentioned running with foxes. I mean, we see foxes as a wild animal, basically. So how did you, like, conquer that fear of actually even having the courage to go running with a fox? That's a wild animal. I mean, no offense, but yeah. How did you do that?
I wasn't running like together, like as in, I would go on jogs and they would be there. It's going out for morning garbage and I am going out for air, yeah. But normally such things are scary, but like with me, I would stop and be like, oh, a fox is here like me. We're both, we're doing our own thing. It's nice to share this moment with you, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, if that is.
There's a question here.
Hi, my name is Pokadija. I'd like to know a bit more about the poetry in the book, because I know you were a poet before you became a fiction writer. I'd be interested in how your transition to being a fiction writer. That's my question.
Hi, James. Actually, I became a poet because I was failing at fiction. So I realized fiction requires a lot of stamina. It requires structured thinking. And poetry, you can just put sentences and words together, and it's like art, or it's like music. It's vague, it's exacting. Something somewhere will mysteriously move you, and you won't know why. That's why you listen to the same songs over and over again. There's something in it that relates to you. And then a song is also 3 minutes short. So like poetry is very short. So I felt like I could tackle that. I'd actually given up on my fiction dreams. I always used to write poetry, but I started leaning more into being a poet because I thought I should switch up the format since I was failing at that one. And then I went back to fiction because I said, come on, I need to try again. I need to just make this work at least once, and then I can close that chapter or whatever is the next step in life. So yeah, I kind of ended up reapproaching fiction now again with the kind of training, or I guess the things I'd adapted or learned from, looking at things as a poet. And I think it really changed my style of writing, which was an interesting process. I guess I needed to go back to poetry in order to come back to fiction again. Yeah, thank you.
Any other question? Okay.
Juma, let me answer, even though I don't jog with foxes. But I was just thinking, that's such a powerful question, right? And that's what beautiful writing does, You don't control what people see from, what you write about and what you say. In this instance, it's something you said. But it just invoked, a very powerful image for me. Walking with wolves, dancing with wolves and all of that. Running with the foxes, yeah. Well, exactly. And the powerful question for me that you asked was, how do you get over your fear of foxes? These wild animals. We all know that these wild animals, if they're not things that eat human beings, are more afraid of us. But it just made me realize that I'm more afraid of man than animals. But when I say man, I'm not using man as man, woman, whatever, male. I have never in my life come back home late, right? From London, I come down the train and I'm walking home middle of the night, and I see a group of women and I'm afraid. Never. Not once. 20 women. One woman will beat me up. I'm a lover, not a fighter. 20 women. I've never been afraid. But I promise you, I see one dude. I'm watching what the person is doing. If you're behind me, I'm like, okay, where is he going? I'm listening for his footsteps. I'm doing that very ill-advised thing. I lace my keys through my fist, my fingers. Don't do that. Seriously, if man or woman, if you feel like someone might attack you and you've got your bunch of keys, and you've seen in movies where they tell you to do this, put your keys don't do that. It'll hurt you if you punch somebody like that. Instead, look for the longest key and hold it like that. If you stab someone with that, you're not going to hurt yourself. Right? It's important information and it's real. If you use the other way, you'll hurt yourself and you'll get killed.
Or just carry a knife.
Sorry?
Okay, I think we've got 2
defender.
minutes.
Actually-
let me get the conversation
Sorry.
back. Yeah,
Can I answer
okay.
the question?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I think I was caught up on that fox imagery. You see, writers would like to exaggerate things. Say that don't trust writers. But basically, there's an element of truth. But what you said about fear, I think when you talk to me about monsters in the sea or like ghosts, those things aren't scary to me. Not because that they can't mean me harm, or they don't mean me harm, or like I shouldn't be careful when going into those spaces, but because the most frightening thing is not to be eaten alive or to be killed or whatever it is by something I don't know about. It's the things that are around me and the ways I betray myself, I think, which are more frightening and more insidious, I think. So that's why wild animals don't necessarily scare me. I won't come out of the car and say hi to a lion, but, at least I know what to expect when I do that, A human being, you can't predict them. So, yeah.
We've got 1 minute. I've got final questions. Final question to both of you. So with you, Leah, not so much with Khadija, but I felt like we need to know, the next, how does it look like for Mr. Magic, and after discovering all, is there potential for a squill? I'm just asking, could be a yes or no?
Yeah, there's going to be a series, but I'm currently working on another crime fiction novel that I've promised people. I'm going to send it out to them. So I'm a crime fiction writer originally, and you might wonder, why am I writing sci-fi, right? Well, I looked at Nnedi Okorafor, I looked at Tomi Adeyemi, I saw Mohale and the things she's doing, and then Khadija, and I thought, what a woman can do, a man can take credit for.
Okay, unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you so much, Khadija. Please go out and get these 2 amazing books. They are really amazing. I am not overselling you or selling you dreams. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Kanana, Khadija, and Leah. Please let's put our hands together for them again.